It's now time for Party Chat Sports.
The only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
To Party Chat Sports. I'm your host, Gill. We got Dillon Schroeder, Andrew Nelson with us here today. We'll see if Cam is able to join us. He might join us here towards the end, maybe. Hopefully, knock on wood. Hopefully, we'll get Cam this week. Should still be a good episode. A lot to talk about, a lot to cover for week 11 of the NFL season. I had to look over to see what week this was because I can't believe we're already 11 weeks into the NFL season, boys.
Unfortunately, we are.
It's going fast, and you can tell it's going fast when you look over on the college side of things.
I was just about to say, the college season is...
The game is this week.
Yep.
That means the end of the season. It's pretty sad. Obviously, still a little bit of ways to go for the NFL, but it'll be over before you know it.
It's going to be the end of the season because Ohio State's going to lose, and that'll be all she wrote. Is that not why it's the end of the season?
No, it's week 12, which is the end of the season.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Just checking.
Well, yeah. Usually the season ends with the last game of the season, but that's just me.
And then there's this thing called postseason, which is after the season.
It's not the season. It's postseason.
All right. Stop. All right, let's move on.
All right.
Didn't need to go on that tangent.
Let's get to the NFL.
We ain't losing to that cheating team anyway, so.
Let's get to the NFL. Thursday Night Football last week. This one was one that I expected. There was a lot of people that went into this one thinking, finally, a good Thursday Night Football game. Al Michaels will get to call Thursday Night Football, or a good game. Maybe it'll show some enthusiasm for once. And then we get a 34-20 Ravens-Bengals game. Ravens winning, and Bengals not only losing the game, but losing Joe Burrow for the rest of the year.
It's sad in Cincinnati. I can the mood here in the town. I think the earth shook a little bit down here when that happened. Yeah, it was not good for them. A lot of people unhappy. Pretty much a lost season at this point. They're 5-5, like 0-3 in division. Pretty much got to wash your hands from this one. Get that bad record. Probably draft like Brock Bowers in the top 10, and then they'll be studs next year again, unfortunately. So it's probably what's going to happen.
The big thing that I don't know if there's any traction behind is I just saw Dave Portnoy crying on X, which has become his new favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But I do think it has at least some weight and some conversation as to, like, with the world of sports betting and gambling being so popularized and emphasized by the leagues, to have a team not report, especially their starting quarterback, not report that he was injured throughout the week. And clearly he was. You saw the pictures during the broadcast, I believe, of him wearing a brace on his wrist. That's kind of a big deal. I mean, obviously it was emphasized by Portnoy by placing $100-some thousand on the game.
Yep.
And you can say, okay, maybe, it's betting. Like, that's not a smart decision anyways. But things like that, when the league is emphasizing you to place bets on their games, you kind of have to have that information so people can make, at least reasonable expectations to place bets on. So I don't know if anything will come of it, but I think at least the conversation needs to be had.
Yeah, it is under investigation, and if it goes all the way through and the NFL makes an example of it, because it is such an emphasis for them right now, Bengals could lose a draft pick for that. So, yeah, pretty serious stuff. You got to be fully transparent on your injury report, even just from a competitive aspect. That's where the NFL is more worried about it first. The betting stuff comes in as a much secondary priority for them. But yeah, you can't just be lying about who's hurt and who's not. So
I think they might get fined when it's all said and done. They'll definitely get fined. I don't know if they'll go to the extent of like taking away draft picks. So I could definitely see fines getting passed down to the organization, to the head coach, and I don't know who else would get fined in that scenario, but definitely Zach Taylor and then probably the Bengals organization all get fined. But are the Ravens the best team of the AFC?
yeah, they are.
That's
Pretty simple answer to that one. Yeah.
like even
Unless
after the
their
Browns
receivers
lost,
have another game like against the Steelers where they forget how to catch too.
The Eagles the Jets get to claim that they beat the Eagles. The Steelers get to claim that they beat the Ravens. Whatever, dude. Whatever. It's fine. Yeah, they're good though. Offense, even after though running back injured. Imagine if they had a healthy JK right now, team would be unreal. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But yeah, really good defense, good offense. Their play caller is amazing. Came from Georgia last year. That's right. He's opened that offense up for them. And yeah, they're legit. All these other AFC teams that were in that running had questions, and have had questions this year. Obviously, the Chiefs and their offense not being able to score, the Bills and their offense, and Josh Allen being washed, and them having a worse roster than last year. If Cam was here, he'd refute that, but it's an undeniable truth. The Bengals not having Joe Burrow anymore. I mean, who's left? Miami, who can't beat a winning team. So it's pretty much the Ravens conference right now. So unless they play the Steelers in the playoffs and drop a bunch of passes, I mean, that's the only thing that's going to stop them at this point, it seems like. So, or the Browns, but the Browns don't have their starting quarterback either right now. So
sad how far the mighty AFC has fallen.
Yeah,
I think the Ravens would still be number one in the NFC too. I think they're number one in the NFL right now. You can make that argument for the 49ers.
Healthy Niners are the best team in the league.
The healthy 49ers are the Avengers. That is the truth. So, sorry to interrupt you, Gill. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, this was supposed to be like kind of a loaded AFC, and it was supposed to be like a boxing match essentially till the end. Like, who's going to get that final knockout blow and take over that number one seed? The Ravens could clinch that earlier than people anticipated, that number one seed getting clinched.
I mean, if I look at the standings, the Ravens are what right now? 8-2. Is that what the Ravens are? They're 8-3 or 7-3.
Yeah. 8-3.
8-3. There's a lot of teams that are 7-3, and then a lot of teams that are 6-4. The AFC is actually still really close to each other.
It just doesn't feel like it.
It doesn't feel like it because those questions, obviously, like the Chiefs. And we'll talk about the Chiefs, but the offense and how terrible their wide receivers are. Then there's just a bunch of this 6-4, 7-3 group. Every single team in that group has a question mark. Every single one. Right now, the Ravens don't really have a question mark. So, they've definitely put themselves in that position. But we're going into week 12. Got to stay healthy in the next month and a half. That's essential. And you got to keep, playing well. You don't want to cool off at this time right now. This is when the 2020 Steelers cooled off. Remember that? 11-0, and then lost 6 of their last 7. So I don't think this team's the 2020 Steelers by any stretch of the imagination. That's a whole different topic. But you got to finish the season strong and healthy, and then they'll be set to go for a deep AFC playoff run, I think.
Yeah, post-Thanksgiving it's that final stretch. You try getting, all right, the first month is kind of that first quarter of the season, then you try getting to Halloween. Between Halloween and Thanksgiving, I kind of think it's not really the third quarter of the season, but that's kind of, I bunch those together. And then after Thanksgiving, which is where we're headed, week 12, Thanksgiving is here. Once we get to after Thanksgiving, this is the final stretch. This is that last leg of the race. Like you said, stay healthy. If the Ravens stay healthy, they're probably going to have the number 1 seed, which then begs the question, are they able to advance to the playoffs? Like, the one question with Lamar, they've had the number 1 seed in the past, and then Lamar lost. That was a couple of years ago, but are we at a point, or is Lamar at that point now to where we feel confident enough to say that they could go on a run in the playoffs? Not just to finish the season, because you could be a great regular season team, and then you get to the postseason, because that's kind of been the Ravens in the past, where they're a good regular season team, and then they get to the postseason, and they're done. So will they be able to win playoff games?
Yeah, I think it's just a perfect storm for them right now, because name another team in the AFC that you can't also say that about right now. It's the Chiefs, who have questions, and then everybody else is in that boat that might make it. The Ravens have lost in the playoffs before. The Bengals, who did make it to the Super Bowl, and then in later years have had their losses, but they don't got Joe Burrow anymore. So they're pretty much they're done. They're not even in this playoff picture right now. Buffalo routinely loses. Again, they're not even in the playoff picture right now if the season ended today. So you got the Browns with the backup QB, Miami, who can't beat a winning record team, the Steelers with no QB. Sorry, we'll get to that. The Ravens,
Jags,
Texans, Jags. I mean, like, those are young teams that, like, Houston's going to be in this AFC race for the next 10 years. We all think that, and I think we all agree on that. But they're young. Like, that's an unproven team that, they're probably going to be like last year's Jags. They get into the playoffs, which would be great for them. Maybe upset a team in the wild card round, but they're not going all the way. They're not going to go beat the Ravens in Baltimore in an AFC championship game, I don't think. So it's, right as we stand here today, it's the Ravens game to take it all the way. I hate to say that as a Steelers fan, but I'm trying to be nonpartisan right now. Trying to be neutral.
You're
good
doing your
analyst.
best.
I'm trying so hard. I hate them. They can't beat us.
You're doing well.
They can't beat us though. So anyway,
If you were to pick a Super Bowl favorite right now and a team that you actually think, not just the best team in the AFC, but you think you would actually, the way we're looking right now, think the Ravens can make the Super Bowl?
yeah. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. They got the best record for a reason. They lost to the Steelers for a reason. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. No, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. So,
Drew, what do you think? Or is there somebody else?
No, I don't think there's anyone else. And over the last few weeks, I've kind of turned into this. I was hating on the Ravens for a long time, and then they started proving
in the offseason, right?
They started winning some games and proving that they deserved
blowout wins too.
So they
against
had
good teams.
Other than that stinker against the Browns,
you mean the Steelers
and the Steelers, they've been playing well outside of a couple games. And to be honest, like, I know, like, the Eagles are 9-1, and Steelers had a undefeated season going into 11 weeks, but like we really can't expect like perfect seasons. You're gonna have a few drops. Like, it's the NFL. It's hard.
Yep.
You play the game for a reason. Like, you're gonna drop a few.
Everyone's paid. Everyone's paid professionals.
Yeah, these are all professionals.
These are the top 1%.
Yeah. So you're going to drop a few games. The Ravens have dropped a few. The Browns should have been a win, but they lose. The Steelers should have been a win, but they lose. Who was their other loss? It was early, wasn't it, to the Bengals?
I don't remember.
No,
if they
Bengals
beat the
are 0-3.
Yeah, it wasn't the Bengals.
Division.
Colts.
Wow.
I don't even remember
Disgusting.
that happening.
I do.
I don't even.
That was a weird one. It was like the Ravens had a chance to win, and then the Colts had a chance to win, and then the Ravens.
Was that an Anthony Richardson game?
No, that was Gardner Minshew.
I don't remember. That is
22
not.
I
in my
remember
memory.
that overtime, actually.
It was ugly.
A little bit.
Lamar had 101 yards on the ground. Zach Moss had 122 yards for the Colts.
They
What week was this?
Oh, this was would have been week 4.
Week 4. I tuned out of week 4. That makes sense.
It was
That was
question
the
mark,
Houston
like
game.
a question. It was a questionable penalty at the end of this one, too, that helped or benefited the Colts.
So yeah, I mean, all things considered there.
They've had some bummer games, but they've also had dominant wins over good teams like the Lions.
Killed the Lions. Killed them.
Murdered the Lions. Who else recently? The Seahawks.
Yep. Similar score to that Lions game.
Yeah, just absolutely smoking some teams who are definitely playoff hopefuls with the Lions competing right now. I mean, they have the second best record in the NFC. They're competing for that number 1 seed, actually, which is crazy to say.
It's wild.
The Ravens are currently the favorite in the AFC until proven otherwise by another team.
They went into Cleveland in Week 4, and that was Week 3, by the way. That game they went into Cleveland Week 4 and won 28-3 against the league's best defense. They dismantled the Lions. They had a close game with the Cardinals, but again, they ended up winning. They destroyed the Seahawks. They did lose to the Browns, which felt like a fluke game. You know, just looking at their upcoming schedule, they're at the Chargers this week, probably going to win. But who knows? Chargers are just so weird. Bye week in Week 13, then they have the Rams at home, at Jacksonville, at 49ers in Week 16. That is going to be a really good game. A really good game. And then they go Dolphins at home in Week 17, Steelers at home in Week 18. So Jaguars, 49ers, Dolphins, Steelers. That's finishing the season with 4 playoff teams as it stands to get into the playoffs. So that's a pretty tough gauntlet to be finishing hot on. But we'll see.
We're going to move forward here in a second, but you mentioned that Ravens 49ers. You see the conspiracy theories with like the Super Bowl logos?
Yes.
And I've heard that.
So like if you look at the Super Bowl logo, you could see like colors of the teams that made it. It's purple and red.
No, it's not.
It is purple and red.
What Super Bowl are we on right now? Super Bowl.
Super Bowl 20.
57? 58?
I'm just going to search up Super Bowl logo. Oh, man. Oh, man, it's purple.
Is it?
It's purple and red.
No way. Oh!
That could be a Super Bowl preview.
Hey, at least it's not green.
That's right.
Sorry, Gill. Dark green. Eagles green.
Forest green? What? No, that I don't know.
Kelly green. No, Kelly greens are lighter green. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Whatever green they wear now.
Let's move on. We spent a lot of time on the Ravens, and we have a lot of games to go.
Yeah, we can skip over some bad games, but keep going.
Drew, Cowboys got a 33-10 win against the Panthers. We all knew Cowboys were going to win, and we probably all figured it was going to be a blowout. But what were your thoughts on this one, Drew?
It was actually technically close at one point when the Panthers scored to make it 17-10, and it was like, all right, let's stop messing around, because we were doing some weird stuff that we've never done before, like going out of the Wildcat, which we hadn't done. We were getting creative to see if we could get something going in the run game.
The poor Panthers getting experimented on.
Yeah. And the Panthers didn't help themselves out. They kept having dumb penalties, just absolute boneheaded penalties.
Like when you play FCS Southwest.
And Kevin Burkhardt, after one of the penalties, he was just like, "Yep, that's why they're 1-8 or 1-9, whatever they are." And it was hilarious. Just put them in a body bag, but it wasn't a good game. Deron Bland ties the NFL record for single season pick sixes. That's pretty sweet.
Crazy.
It's impressive. It's impressive.
7 games to go. So
you
can add another one.
How many picks did Trayvon Diggs have a couple years ago?
11.
I knew he had a lot.
Bland has 6 interceptions. 4 are pick sixes, which is crazy.
As much crap as I love to give like Diggs and like the Cowboys in general, you guys get like playmakers in the defensive backfield, and
we just know how to find ball hawks, I guess.
Yeah,
we just draft receivers and say, "Here, go play corner." Because I think, just speaking on that real quick, I think Diggs was a wide receiver at Bama for a bit when he first got there.
I think so. I think so.
I mean, if you have the skills to go up and get it, if you have the speed, I mean, corner's a tough position to learn and play at the NFL level, but I'm sure it'd be easier to make the transition from wide receiver to corner than maybe some other positions. Especially, I mean,
Lineman
the
to
way you
corner would be
read it-
pretty hard. You're right, Gil.
It
That'd
would
hard.
be. See, exactly. Same wavelength. How much longer do we think Frank Reich has?
The season. I
Does he
think
get
they
the
mute.
season?
I think what are they going to
Next
lose?
season.
Right? Like I think the only way it's hard to say. Like I think maybe it's one of those mutually part ways after this season. Because does he really want to stick around with this team that doesn't have a first round pick? Like how much better are they
I
going to be
think-
next year than this year?
I think
That's
part of
the
that is
thing,
just
like,
Frank
it might
that
be work.
doesn't want to be there.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
like
he seems checked out.
Based on what he said, Frank wanted CJ and got overruled by ownership. So if ownership's like, "Hey, why aren't you winning?" It's like, dude, you you chose the quarterback and gave me nothing to work with. Like, this is not my fault.
Yeah.
This is your fault.
It's
Get me out of here if you wish. I don't want to be here.
I know a couple OC jobs he'd probably be available for next year that he might prefer. But anyway,
It might have to be up his alley, a little lateral move again.
because he was a really good offensive coordinator. That's why he got the head coaching jobs that he has. So I think, whether it's Buffalo or Pittsburgh or whatever other team's going to have offensive coordinator holes next season, he's going to be a big
I
target.
think I could see a scenario with him where a team goes and gets a defensive-minded head coach, and the team that hires that defensive-minded head coach hires him with the assumption that Frank Reich's coming as well, so that that young defensive-minded guy and learn how to become a head coach, focus on the defensive side of the ball, and you have a veteran, very talented, skilled offensive play caller on that side, which is the most important side of the ball. So I can see that scenario.
Or he's the missing piece to a team that's just trying to get over the edge that already has a defensive head coach like Buffalo or Pittsburgh. But
yeah, that's definitely possible. I could see it. I could definitely see that.
My only
The
other
only reason I
takeaway
bring
from
that
this
up-
game is that go ahead.
I was just going to say the only reason I mentioned that was because there was reports heading into the game that he was most likely to be fired first, because we haven't had a head coach fired yet, which at this point in the season it seems rare because we usually have at least one head coach. Frank Reich was that coach or one of those two coaches last year that was fired by this point, so
I don't know how Staley still has a job.
we'll get to that.
No idea.
We'll get to that. What was your last point that you had, Dylan?
Last point before we move on from this game, Dallas continues their streak of not beating a team with a winning record, but they demolish teams with losing records. Congratulations to Dallas.
Got to beat who's on the schedule, man. Well, we've got a gauntlet coming up. We'll get there when we get there.
All right. Dylan. Got back-to-back Party Chat sports games here, apparently.
Wow, right off the rip.
Hey, you're the one that put the schedule together, dude.
No, this comes straight off of NFL Networks or
Really?
NFL.com. It comes straight off of NFL.com. That's how I do it.
You insert it.
Yeah, I do. So I'm not going to go too deep. 1,500 people have already watched the YouTube video that went up on Sunday evening.
Haven't go
that
back
was
and watch that. It's great.
It was straight from the heart. I had, after the game, I started to as Cleveland got the ball back with a minute left and plenty of time, and they got the first play, they got to midfield, and I was like, we're gonna lose to a fifth round rookie. I sent that in the chat. I was like, we're gonna lose to a fifth round rookie, and I just get up, I start walking around, doing other things. I was getting my shoes on. We were getting ready to go for a walk around the neighborhood after, and I saw that kick go through the uprights, turned it off, threw the remote, walked out the door. And that whole walk was pretty silent. I was just doing a lot of thinking about what I was feeling and what I wanted to say. And we got back, and I was just, I can't wait. I need to make this video now. So again, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch it. Lots that was on my mind at the time. basically the worst offensive performance I've ever seen. And I've seen Ben Roethlisberger throw 6 interceptions in a game before. And we still put up more than 10 points in that one. So I think, I don't know, whatever, doesn't matter. That was putrid, awful, terrible. I was really emotional on Sunday, and the anger just continued. I woke up on Monday ready to fight. And then today, it was like Christmas morning. Matt Canada officially fired, relieved of his duties. The change that needed to happen weeks ago needed to happen before the season. But basically, you got a 6-4 football team, a couple of winnable games coming up. Basically, the next 4 games, 5 games, including the Browns games, were all winnable. But the next 4 especially, the next 4 have just as bad of offense as Cleveland did, but they don't have the number 1 defense like Cleveland does. So honestly, the Steelers could be 10-4 a month from now. But the thing you got to start seeing is you got to see the offense put up points. You got to see Kenny improve in some area, facet of the game, because there's no more excuses now. Is the scheme going to change that much? Probably not, but the play calling, what plays get called on what downs, the order, all of that stuff, changing. So the news is that the running back coach is going to be the offensive coordinator, Eddie Faulkner, who was previously a head coach in college and offensive coordinator for many years in college, including the MAC. So we got a MACtion guy, a talented young staffer that the Pittsburgh has liked for a while. So right off the bat, I'm thinking this team wants to run the ball. I mean, running backs coach gets the OC job. This team wants to run the ball, and they should. There's this guy on the team named Jalen Warren who is a dog. I don't think anybody here is going to disagree. Dude runs like his life depends on it every single time. He's like 5'8", won't go down, just a brick house. And he can also take a house call. So there's a couple of those analytical charts where he was just off the chart, basically where the sun is based on like break tackles and like yards above expected or whatever the chart was, just astronomically high. So he needs to get the ball more than 9 times. He needs to touch the ball after he takes one to the house within 3 possessions that he didn't do in Cleveland. He touched the ball 1 time in the next like 9 plays that the Steelers ran. Unacceptable. And just obviously changes that you need to see to the offense. Don't call 15 screens. Don't throw the ball behind the line of scrimmage 20 times in a game. Have Kenny throw it downfield. And at this point, like the whole thing has always been Kenny don't throw an interception. So he went from like slinging it when he first was starting to it's just checkdowns and screens. It's like they're scared to let it rip. If you throw an interception every once in a while, oh, well, that's the NFL. I mean, yeah, he's got the longest non-interception streak, and it's up to like 6 games, but he's also thrown 1 touchdown in 6 games, so it's unacceptable. Sling it. Mistakes are going to happen, but good things are going to happen. Quit laughing. So all of this, right? All of this to consider. You got to see some improvement, and we'll see what that change does. Basically, you're going to get 7 games to evaluate Kenny without Matt Canada being the fall guy as the excuse guy. And then you see how those 7 games go, and you go from there. Your step number 1 is to go into Cincinnati and get a win with a good offensive performance. And, hopefully you shut down Jake Browning of their backup quarterback. And then you build from there. You just try to improve. And if you make it to the playoffs, don't get bounced and embarrassed in the wild card. And you go from there. So that's all I'm going to say on the Steelers there. If you want to hear more of the rant, go back. But Matt Canada getting fired, that's step number 1 to turning this thing around. That's all you can do.
Myles Garrett's a dog.
He is. He's
actually.
There was this thing out there that like Dan Moore, the left tackle, had done well against Myles Garrett in his career because Myles Garrett like hasn't had a sack on him or whatever. But that's because we had a year of Ben throwing the ball under 2 seconds. Last year, I think he was hurt for a game and whatever. He owns Dan Moore, completely owns him. He disrupted that game all game. Why Broderick Jones didn't get the left tackle draw to get whatever. Just more, weird coaching decisions. But yeah, he's really good.
Actually, I heard the opposite. Obviously, maybe he didn't have the actual sacks on Dan Moore, but Dan Moore's pass blocking grade when he plays Miles Garrett, which is kind of to be expected, it averages like 15.
Yeah, that's the
Normally
thing.
he's
Like, I
like
don't know.
40, 50, 60, something like that.
There was this stigma, and it wasn't like true by any means, but there was this like thing out there that, oh, Dan Moore does pretty good against Miles Garrett. Like, I promise that was like a thing that was talked about for the last couple of years, and it's like nobody's watching. No one's watching this dude getting cooked. He's a revolving door over there with Miles Garrett on the field. It's ridiculous.
Dillon,
But
have you seen an updated count of that? Most sacks in the
Yeah,
first 100
yeah.
games.
They
Kind of
showed
want
it.
to know what the standings are.
They showed it during the game, but then I think he got like two more, and then TJ got one more. So they both moved up, but I do think the gap got a little bit thinner,
A little
to say
smaller.
the least. But TJ is still in the lead on that one. I don't think he will finish in the lead because Miles Garrett is that dude. He really is. He's an otherworld guy, just built different. They're both really good players. Miles Garrett and TJ Watt, both number one pass rushers in the league, both top tier guys, both top 5 players in the league. And either one of them could kill you on any given day at this point. And I think that's the only debate to be had between the two, is that they're just both electric.
Totally fair. I mean, I'd love to have pass rushers like that on my team. So I mean, Miles Garrett,
got
His
one.
name's
TJ
Bryce
Watt.
Huff.
Yeah, you got
Bryce
one.
Huff's a dog. Bryce Huff's a dog. I will give you that one. Good for DTR for getting the win. It was definitely more. It wasn't the Browns winning. It was more the Steelers losing. They answered. A lot of the ESPN radio I was listening to today was like complimenting Mike Tomlin, saying, "Excellent leadership. You gave Matt Canada as a huge leash. You gave him." This was the ESPN people. Was good for Tomlin staying in his ways, not wanting to fire people. The Steelers don't fire people mid-season, haven't done so since like 1941.
That's actually false, by the way.
Was
Real
it
quick,
false?
that's false. They were the Steagles at the time,
Oh.
and an Eagle coach was fired. The Steelers have never fired a coach in the middle of the season before until
Damn it,
today.
ESPN.
Matt Canada. Yeah, ESPN was wrong on that one.
ESPN was wrong. But pretty much saying, like, they gave Canada every chance to try to succeed. And they were asking, like, did Mike Tomlin do this too late? Was it the right time? They were saying, no, it was the right time to do it. I think we all agree that this should have been done, like, last year. So it was definitely too late. But at least he's gone. At least you got rid of the cancer. At least you got rid of that. I love the memes, by the way, like Tone Diggs, Pat McAfee calling him a straight up dictator and quoting Independence Day. Love it. Glad you guys finally got rid of him. Now we're going to see who the real Kenny Pickett is, because now you go the scapegoat. I mean, the rightful scapegoat was Matt Canada. Kenny Pickett hasn't been playing well, so we're going to see, is Kenny Pickett good? Or is he not? Like, how much of that had to do with Matt Canada, and how much of that just has to do with his skill set? I think the rest of the season is going to be huge for Kenny Pickett, and if he's the future of this team or not.
Kenny Pickett, you are on the clock.
The picture you guys sent where Matt Canada's job was fired, and then it was like Kenny Pickett's next, and it was like the duck that was like,
yeah.
It was funny, but it made me giggle, but it's true. I mean, it's make or break time. I mean, you're in the end of year 2. Yeah, there it is.
It's a bad glare.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'm like, I can see that.
It's fine.
Kenny Pickett
But, no, it is. Yeah, it's make or break time. I mean, the NFL, you only get so many chances. Not many QBs go on to year 3 still with question marks. Usually it's a results-oriented business. It always has been, always will be. And if the results stop coming, you got to move on. And so,
Yep.
that's the rest of this year is going to be huge for him. And I mean, rightfully so. You're either good at this game or you're not, or not good enough to be in the NFL. So you got to figure that out, and you got to play well if you want to keep your
Do
job.
you think you'd be interested in trading for Tommy DeVito?
No, but
Yeah,
I would
I
be.
think he's
I
got
would
more
be
touchdowns, I think, than Kenny.
if George Pickens didn't drop that toe tap, that stat would not be relevant today, but he did. So regardless, no, I would be interested in a trade for Justin Fields in the offseason, though. But ask me again in about 7 weeks, and we'll go from there.
Yep. I think with Kenny Pickett too, when quarterbacks fail, it's not just their jobs it costs other people their jobs. So me being a Jets fan, following like Jets beat writers, this guy for the Athletic, he looked into like how long head coaches, general managers survive like drafting a bust in the first round. So he made a list of 17 quarterbacks that included Jamarcus Russell, Brady Quinn, Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, Johnny Manziel, etc.
What a
Not a
list!
single head, phenomenal list. Not a single head coach of one of those 17 quarterbacks that he found lasted more than 3 seasons. Handful of GMs still lasted 5 or more years, but not many. So if Kenny Pickett doesn't work out, and if he ends up being a bust, for Mike Tomlin's sake, if he wants to keep his job, granted, he's a legacy. There's already starting to be some questions for him,
Yeah.
but it could get to a point where it's going to
not
cost
going to
more
lose
than
his
just
job. Yeah,
maybe not.
Mike's
but
not going to lose his job. The last GM is the one who drafted Kenny, so that's not going to ruin the GM's job. It would
True.
be the next guy. It would be the next guy. If Mike
always-
has back-to-back bad quarterbacks, it would be the next guy. But
the point being,
and again, yeah,
when a quarterback fails, it costs more than just a quarterback's job. It costs a bunch of people's jobs. Anyone that was
QB
involved
coach, OC, GM.
in that we've already seen one coach fired. Granted, he deserved to be fired, but if Kenny's
he had
not
a Hall of
it,
Fame
then
QB and couldn't even do it. So
just something I thought I'd throw out there.
no, that's definitely a good point. And I think a lot of that tends to happen when new regimes come in and they try to draft their guy. It's going to be different when guys move on. Like Belichick, Belichick's kind of in a similar boat, right? Just the Patriots are a lot worse than the Steelers at the moment. And so it's kind of a little bit different story, but similar nonetheless.
But Belichick might be losing his job to
You're
that
right.
point.
He might be, but in the other part too is Belichick's a lot older than
He's also
Tomlin
like
is.
75.
Yeah, he's a lot older, and
But
it's
still.
that one's going to end up being a mutually part ways type deal.
Yeah.
But
I'm just trying to play the devil's advocate and trying to prove my point here.
that's fine.
Nothing
That's
more.
fine. It's a good point. No, it's a good point.
It is.
It's Steelers are just one of those organizations that 3 head coaches since like the 60s. So
1969. They were saying that one earlier. 1969.
Bill Cowher went through a whole bunch of QBs before he got Big Ben and won a Super Bowl. So it's just not how the Steelers operate.
You guys have had only 3 coaches since the last time the Jets won a Super Bowl, because we won it in January 12th, 1969. Fun fact.
There was every time a couple years ago when the Browns were bad, they kept flashing up the QB carousel versus the Steelers head coaches and like the Browns coaches versus the head coaches, and it's just a strama. It's comical.
I love the amount of Browns fans, Browns Twitter or X today saying like, "We ended the Steelers season." How many times does the Steelers end the Browns season? Or end Browns
like they got
coaching careers or quarter.
Yeah. They acting like the Steelers are 6-4 right now, and that the Browns are probably going to lose like 4 of their next 5 games because they got DTR at QB. But I digress.
Yeah, let's digress. We ready to move on?
Yeah,
we got?
Yeah, that's about 40 minutes through 3 games. So why don't we, we'll just pick up the pace a little bit and get through.
We mentioned this team as, kind of in that NFC race. They almost lost to the Bears, but it only took them 5 minutes to come back. They were down 2 scores, getting a 31-26 victory. I think they were down 12. Yeah, I think it was a 12-point deficit that they were facing. Lions 8-2. I think they have 8 wins.
Team's weird.
Yeah, they're 8-2, and One of the things I was going to say, just when you mentioned the Jets last Super Bowl, I think it's the last time the Lions were 8-2. The Jets were the defending Super Bowl champs. So it's been a minute.
I thought the last. Okay. It was
It
probably
was
around
something
then.
like that.
I thought it was like the last time the Lions went into Thanksgiving with 8 wins. It was like World War II or something. I don't know. That's a lot longer. But regardless,
one of the last times the Lions were good, the Jets were also good. Let's put it that way. Or maybe it was something like the last. I don't remember. I don't remember what it was. But
yeah. Regardless,
it's been a long time.
Yeah, the team's weird though. Like they have an electric offense. They can score so quickly, man. I mean, they've had a ton of those types of games where it's a shootout and they're just scoring at will. And then how many interceptions did Goff throw in this game? Was it 3 or was it only 2?
I think it was 3.
Yeah, I mean it's a weird one. But again, just like we talked up the Ravens, we need to give the Lions the same respect. You know, they've had good wins and they've had a couple blips on the radar. And one of those losses was to the Ravens. So, this team's going to play to their competition most of the time. They're going to play hard most of the time because that's how Dan Campbell rolls. Sometimes they'll shoot themselves in the foot and sometimes they don't. But overall, a good team. They're in the hunt this year. And if they can put it all together and be more consistent, it's hard to tell a team that's 8-2 to be more consistent, but it does kind of feel that way. They can also make a run, depending on kind of who they get matched up with in that first round of the playoffs, or just the playoffs in general.
Yeah. With the current playoff seeding, they would have the Vikings in the first round. And then, as it stands, they would have the Niners coming to Detroit in the second round. So
that would be a game. That would be a game.
Battle.
Home playoff games, by the way, is what we're talking about for the Lions.
Yeah.
Not just a playoff game. Home playoff game.
When's the last time that happened? That's a stat.
I think it was like 1990.
It's probably in the Silver Dome or something.
Because I want to say Barry played in a home playoff game.
Wow.
They beat the Cowboys.
Hosted playoff.
Because Stafford didn't have one. I think he had a couple road playoff games. But
he lost to the Cowboys.
I remember that.
The Lions last won a playoff game January 5th, 1992. Did they host that game?
Dang.
They finished 12-4 in the 91 regular season.
Pretty good.
It wasn't
pretty good.
It wasn't a close one either. Detroit walloped Cowboys 38-6, holding Dallas to 2 first-half field goals. Why am I reading all this? I just want to know if it was home or not.
It probably was. It probably was. We'll just go with that.
We'll go with 1992. 91 season, 1992.
Wow.
Someone fact check us and let us know in the comments.
Good for them. Yeah, good for them.
They deserve it. I mean, it's been a long road for them. After the Stafford trade, it was like, all right, this might take some time for. They have to do this right. There's a lot of question marks.
I got a question.
Campbell.
I got a question. How long is Jared Goff the Lions quarterback?
A long time.
If he wins a playoff game for the Lions, as long as he wants.
He's not a bridge quarterback as he was traded for to be. He is proven to be more than that. If you're drafting the guy, you're hoping he can be, at least as good as Jared Goff. And Goff's playing good. Like, don't let this Bears game take away from how good he's been this year.
It was like that last year
this
too.
Was kind of a This was a fluke. This is a fluke game for Goff.
He was a Pro Bowler last year.
He was a former number 1 overall pick, so we're not going to act like this guy was, bad. He just kind of ran into some misfortune on that Rams team, it felt like.
Yeah.
So,
but the way he was traded as like part of a package that the Rams got Matthew Stafford. Like, Matthew Stafford was traded for Jared Goff and a bounty of picks. It wasn't just like a Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford. The Rams viewed Matthew Stafford as much more valuable than Jared Goff, which, hey, they won a Super Bowl. I think just about any of us would make a similar trade.
They had to sign their life away, but that's how it is in the NFL, and that's okay.
Sometimes that's what you got to do to win Super Bowls, right? I mean, the only one of us that have witness our team win a Super Bowl will be Dillon. And how much do you remember that? Any one of us would trade.
I watched both of the Super Bowl victories, and I watched the Super Bowl loss, which unfortunately was the most recent one that I remember. But I do remember all three, and all three were fantastic. It was the happiest moments of my life.
I think I'm going to speak for all of us here. We would all do that trade for our own teams if it meant that we won a Super Bowl. Even if it meant we were going to suck for the next 5 years or so. A Super Bowl win.
The absolute clout that the next of like our group, the next one that seems our team wins the Super Bowl, nothing else is going to matter for a decade until another team wins a Super Bowl. Like that's
I'll be miserable. You better hope the Cowboys never win one day. I'll be unbearable.
I mean, it's been 12 years. No, it's been It's been a long time. Like 15 years at this point, and I still get to pull that card. So it's nice. It's nice. It would be the end of a lot of stuff if that ever does happen, especially if it's the Vikings. Cough, cough.
It's gonna happen eventually.
The point being that Jared Goff is a lot more valuable and a lot better than some have given him credit for in the past, and the Lions are better off after that trade than they were before.
There's a lot of teams in the NFL that would love to have Jared Goff right now. So,
yeah. What was I going to say? I forgot where I was going. Oh, I want to see where the Lions will be next year without Ben Johnson, and see how much of this is Ben Johnson, how much of it is Dan Campbell.
Where does Ben Johnson coach next year? That's an interesting one.
Chargers.
Obviously,
Anywhere he wants.
Chargers. Oh my gosh. Oh man, that would be nasty.
Free J Herbo. That's kind of that one just makes too much sense.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll get to that probably in the future, but
we will. Last thing on this game, we haven't talked much about the Bears. What were your guys' feelings on Justin Fields in his first game back from injury?
Future Steeler.
Good.
Fair enough.
I heard a take today that the Bears are going to build around Fields still. They're not going to draft Caleb Williams. They're going to draft a tackle, and then they're going to draft, maybe a defensive playmaker, and they're going to keep going down the Justin Fields route.
I've seen a few mock drafts like that, and I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, we'll see though. I believe we lost Gill, unfortunately. I'm sure he'll be back in the quickest of moments. But is that Blue or Phoenix? It's probably Phoenix.
That's Blue.
Oh,
Just
man.
want some treats.
So kind of moving us on, though, to the next game. Speaking of the Chargers, LA Chargers at Green Bay. You're back. Welcome back, Gill. Okay. It was a fire transition since we were talking about the Chargers. We're on the Chargers and the Green Bay game now. Chargers lose a tough one, 20-23. Quentin Johnston's going to have to apply on LinkedIn profile, make an Indeed profile, his mom, everybody in the Johnston household. No, he'll be fine. But, tough one. Deuce Staley. Gosh, Brandon Staley loses again as a head coach with what should be on paper one of the favorites in the AFC.
I don't know if he will be fine, Quentin Johnston. Obviously, they're good. I mean, he's going to have more opportunities, but so far not looking very good. It's shaping itself up to be a Rager over Justin Jefferson kind of pick, with Addison going right after Quentin Johnston. So,
I don't know. The Vikings too.
I don't know why the Chargers didn't draft Jordan Addison when they already had Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. It just made too much sense. But again, Brandon Staley is in charge of that football team, so nothing that they do makes sense, unfortunately.
And whoever the GM is that allows Staley to still have a job must not be very competent. So
this is the Chargers. So this is, a team that can't even get their own fans into the building. So
shouldn't have left San Diego.
A well-run organization. No, they shouldn't.
This game, I'll speak my thoughts on it real quick. It was terrible. The Chargers, you lose Joey Bosa. I didn't even see what the extent of his injury is, but he gets carted off the field crying. It's usually not a good look.
If it's serious, he's probably already on IR right now.
Yeah,
Pass rusher
I didn't see
likely to go
anything.
to IR.
Yeah.
Injury.
Justin Herbert actually played a good game. He had some Patrick Mahomes supporting cast around him, which is sad because like Keenan Allen has been a fantastic receiver this year, and he had
And
some
for like
terrible
10
drops.
years. And for 10 years he has.
Yeah,
He's one of those
Yeah.
most underrated wide receivers.
but Quentin Johnston just
Still
miserable
had 10 catches.
drops in the game.
Yeah, he had 10 catches, 116 yards. And
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure he dropped like 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can have 10 catches, but if you drop the 2 that are actually getting your points,
true.
it's tough.
It's true.
Deontay Johnson. Sorry.
Yeah,
That was loud. That was
Herbert's
unnecessarily
grade was actually super high. It was like the highest quarterback grade this week or something like that. And, they still lose. So, just goes to prove it's it's a team game more than people like to think sometimes.
Yeah, Staley's got to be gone soon. I think if they play the Ravens. This week. If the Ravens if the Ravens do to them, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Gil, I'll pass it right back to you. If the minute that the Chargers are eliminated from the playoffs, which is probably going to be in a handful of weeks, it won't be, the last week of the season, I'm guessing, he's gone, right? As soon as they're eliminated from the playoffs, he's got to be gone. If not, if he somehow makes it to the end of the year, which I don't think he will, like that what do they call that, Black Monday or whatever, gone. Yeah. I mean, instantaneously. So bad. I've been saying this for like 2 years now.
Yeah, I think Kellen Moore is going to be in a spot where he's promoted to head coach to see if ownership likes him enough, give him a tryout essentially. If they lose this week to the Ravens, which I think they do, they're going to drop to 4-7. It's going to be difficult from a 4-7 team right now. It's going to be difficult for them to get back into this playoff race. So I think if they lose to the Ravens, and if they get blown out by the Ravens, especially if it's one of those Ravens versus Lions, Seahawks, one of those type of games, I think Staley's gone next week. I don't know if
you would think, yeah, you would think. We've been thinking this a long time now.
That's kind of in the back of my mind. I think if he loses, they drop to 4-7. If they want any chance at making it to the playoffs, they're going to give Kellen Moore a shot.
Here's how
you at least have to see
Staley's
what you have in house, before other teams can start interviewing. Before you have to go, you're going to interview Kellen if you fire Staley. That's easy. You just do the interview anyways. Why not get a test run, see what happens, and then if you don't like him, then you go and start your search for everyone else. But at least you got to see him coaching actual games with your actual team.
Yep.
Here's how he is throughout the week. Here's how Staley's last 2 seasons as a head coach, and I think he's in year 3. So here's how Staley's head coaching years have ended. 2 years ago, he doesn't take the tie with the Raiders and misses the playoffs on Sunday Night Football. Last year, makes it to the playoffs and blows whatever it was, the 27-point lead again, a lot to Jacksonville. And he's followed that up with a playoff caliber team going 4-7. Is not good. Not good, Bob.
Not great at all.
Defensive-minded coach, by the way.
Yeah, that's the most mind-boggling thing for me.
Awful
defense. They have a terrible defense, and their head coach is a defensive-minded guy. Blows my mind.
And it's not Jordan like they have scrubs on defense. They've got some good guys on.
They're one of the highest paid defenses, man. They got Khalil Mack, Derwin James. They had J.C. Jackson at one point. Bosa, the defense is legit.
Should be
legit. It's not though.
Jordan Love he looked fine. He looked good.
He sneakily has decent production this year.
It's just his bad looks really bad. I think that's kind of the issue right now. Like his bad kind of outweighs the good, which
It's also a
it's
tough
his first
spot
year.
because he's basically a rookie, but he's old.
Yeah.
So he doesn't get the time luxury as normal rookies would.
No, we'll see how the year finishes out for
He's
him.
not, but
And if the Packers lose a couple more games, I seen LaFleur could possibly get canned. I don't think that happens, but if it does, then anything's kind of up for grabs. Let's move on. Kyler Murray is back, and he almost led, or it would have been a second straight week that he would have led a game-winning drive. He's looking good, but not as good as our boy C.J. Stroud. Stroud did have 3 interceptions, but his touchdowns, especially that one to Tank Dell, beautiful. Absolute
That
beauty.
one made me so upset. Like happy for him, but sorry to get back on this horse. I watched that play and I go, can Kenny even throw that ball that far in that spot? I don't think he can. Like that ball, he ran around on that play, he created time, and then he just, we're not going to have another TikTok here, but he just launched that sucker, and it was beautiful, if you know what I mean. It was gorgeous, man. It was so just, perfect. Yeah. And they get the win. So Houston once again stacking wins,
MVP.
looking good. Yeah, he might. Yeah, he might.
The
That'd be
MVP
crazy.
race kind of sucks anyway, so why not give the rookie that outplaying most
well,
of the league?
I have things to say about that. I could save
I'm sure
it
you
for
do.
later. Last week, going back to Kyler, last week after the win, the hype train for Kyler on Arizona Sports Radio was off the rails. It was going hyper speed in the completely wrong direction. So like they spend all season talking about like, you know, Kyler's done. He's gone. Caleb Williams, you know, is going to be the next guy. Yada yada yada. Whatever. Kyler comes back. He wins his first game, and it's like, oh my goodness, Kyler Murray, one of the best quarterbacks in the league, the savior. They were talking, and Josh just had that loss to who was it last week? Who'd they lose to just recently? Josh Allen, the Bills. It'll tie in. Trust me.
I don't remember.
Who did they lose to?
Hold on.
Yeah, it was terrible. And they lost.
Broncos?
The Broncos.
The Broncos.
Yeah.
Yep. On Monday night.
It was that week. And they were talking about what other quarterbacks would you trade for if you were the Cardinals? And they said, no, we're not trading Kyler Murray for Josh Allen. It's crazy.
That's
crazy talk.
Drew, that sports bar we were in, they were going nuts for Kyler when he was doing crazy stuff. They were so happy.
Dude.
They were so
switched
happy.
up in an instant. As soon as they started, they win a game. It's like, oh my goodness, Kyler's the best quarterback ever.
He
when the whole offseason,
he made a scramble, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh,
yeah,
he's so
they
fast."
were dogging him. They wanted him gone. They wanted nothing to do with him. And all of a sudden, he wins a game. But then this week they lose. He doesn't look quite as good. And it's like, let's slow our roll on Kyler. Dude, it is immediate. If he wins the game, he's a hero. If he loses, it's like, all right, let's get Drake May.
Here's the thing: they might win too many games if If Kyler plays this way the rest of the year, there's a chance they win too many games where they're not in a spot for a Caleb Williams, Drake May, a Michael Penix. They might be out of the top 3.
Both the Cardinals fans that I talked to both want Penix.
That's the right decision.
They don't want May and they don't want Williams. They want Penix.
I like May. I like Penix more. Okay.
Penix is funnier.
I'll give you that. But yeah, good for our boy CJ, who continues to mount these good wins. I saw one thing where if CJ's the MVP, maybe Tank Dell's the offensive rookie of the year. I don't think it's going to happen. Stroud's the MVP, but It's
I
not.
don't think they'll give it to
Stroud's going to win
Stroud.
offensive.
The
Going to win offensive rookie of the year, but not
The
MVP.
Texans' record is not good enough for Stroud to win MVP, unfortunately.
They are 6-4. Jaguars.
He would have to have
7-3.
his current stats and also win the division.
That's possible. I think they might.
They might. Not because the Texans are dominant though. It's because the Jags are questionable.
Because the division's
like-
dookie.
Yeah.
Just
They're
to throw
7-3.
it back, like when in 2016 when Dak was a rookie, he had good stats and the first round bye, and wasn't in the top 5 for MVP voting. Which
Here's a
he had a lot
sorry
of
to
help
sur-
from Zeke, but still,
Where was Zeke in that MVP voting?
some people gave him like he was like 4th in voting, 5th.
Here's real quick. Here's the Texans' remaining schedule: Jaguars, Broncos, Jets, Titans, Browns, Titans, Colts. That's a lot of Texans wins, I think.
That's what we said a couple weeks ago when they were like 3 and something. Like there was a stretch of games that was very winnable for them, and they won a lot of these.
They've
beat
won.
the Cardinals.
They've won 4 out of their last 5 games, including the last
and the only
3.
one they lost was the Panthers.
Don't know.
The Panthers
man, I
only win. Things don't make sense in the NFL. Like
don't. And they lost to
I-
Desmond Ridder. Weird. I don't know. They're gonna be. They're gonna make the
Play the game.
playoffs. They're gonna make
Yep.
the playoffs though, for sure. I think.
They could be dangerous if they make, depending on who they play in the playoffs. They could be a dangerous team. Let's move forward. Actually, let's stay in the AFC South. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time on this one. Jaguars, Titans. Calvin Ridley showed up. That was nice.
It was a game that was played on
34-14.
Sunday. It was a game that was played in Jacksonville, whooped on Tennessee. Will Levis has cooled off substantially, and that's it.
I saw Trevor Lawrence running for a bunch of touchdowns.
Yeah,
He
he
did.
had like 1 or 2.
He did do that.
I think he had
Definitely
2,
had
maybe.
2. He definitely had 2. I watched the second one.
That was like the only thing that ever popped up on Red Zone. Just
I
Trevor
saw-
Lawrence running in the end zone.
Calvin Ridley had like over 100 yards the first time. It was like 1. So that was
I saw something where when he plays with Zay Jones on the field, he does way better. And he only has a few games where him and Zay Jones have played at the same time. And in those games, he's gone for over 100, I think, every time.
Well, I don't think Zay Jones is going to be playing anytime soon, right? Isn't that what
he played
happened
last week.
Oh, and that was after the
I think he
thing
did.
that he was doing. Interesting.
Yeah, he
I
was like
thought-
arrested and then still played.
That's
I think He was
weird.
arrested. Don't quote me on that.
I
think
did
he
he
might
play
be-
though?
It was weird.
I thought he did.
Zay Jones back for the Titans.
He
game.
did. He had 4 for 20. Okay.
So
Let's
as long
move
as
on.
they can keep Zay Jones out of jail, they might be dangerous. Calvin Ridley might be dangerous.
Jaguars paying all those court costs and everything like that. This was a game that should have been a blowout, but the Dolphins' offense is very sus outside of Tyreek Hill, and the Raiders almost had a chance to win at the end. Jalen Ramsey had 2 interceptions, including the game-sealing one. Dolphins win 2013. Cam called it. He said it was going to be a one-score game, and it was a one-touchdown game. But again, the Raiders almost won at the end.
Yeah, Miami, they're on fraudulent road right now. Is McDaniels, did I say that right?
I think it's
Yeah.
McDaniel.
McDaniel. I was Josh McDaniels and Mike McDaniel. Is he a
I know.
good coach? Weird. We'll see what they do come playoff time, because last year they lost to QB, didn't quite make it to the playoffs. This year, currently on track for the playoffs, but again, not
They're
beating
going to
any
win the
winning.
division.
Yeah, not beating any winning record teams, though. Quite questionable. hard to tell if this team's good or not. I still don't know.
Still been like 400 days since Tua being a team with a winning record.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Dolphins. Well, it'll be quite the matchup. I think the Dolphins have some tough games to end the season. So
Well, it's
we'll
not
see.
this week, so
Not this week. It'll be interesting. I will say, the Jets defense versus the Dolphins offense
will be
will
fun.
be interesting for most of the game until the defense eventually breaks.
Here's the Dolphins. They got the Jets, the Commanders, the Titans, the Jets. So, 4-game stretch, right? Final 3 games. Cowboys at home, at Baltimore, Bills at home. That will be a telling 3 games.
So they have a couple of games with teams that still don't have winning records. And then at least 2 of those 3 teams will have a winning record by the time the Dolphins play them. The other one, I don't know if the Bills will or not because they could be a fraudulent watch. And they're still going to win the division.
I still think the Bills will. I mean,
do you?
Yeah. I mean,
who the Bills got
they
left.
keep losing.
Let's pull it up.
They keep losing, but it feels like they shouldn't be.
Well,
I don't know, man. Have you seen
listen,
the Bills' schedule?
Listen, here's the Bills' schedule,
true.
all right? Eagles, Chiefs, Cowboys. That's their next 3. And then they got Chargers, Patriots, Dolphins. I don't think they have a winning record.
Do they win any of these next 3?
No.
They're winning the next one.
It's in Philly,
They're winning
too.
the next one. They're winning the next 2, losing the third.
Oh,
And
no,
then,
they're
heard it here
not.
first. You heard it here first at Party Chat Sports. Dillon and I do not agree, but Drew's takes are his and his only.
I don't know, man. They're so weird. They're such a weird football team.
I don't know. I don't trust the Bills. But we are off.
They fired their offensive coordinator, and they had a 30-burger. I haven't seen a Steelers 30-burger all year, so sorry to get sidetracked again.
You haven't seen a 30-burger in a long time.
It's been 84 years. Yeah.
But back to the Dolphins. I think I said it. I might have said it a couple times on here that I think the Dolphins are a team that this was especially while they were like outscoring everybody, putting up like 30 plus. They're a fun team during the regular season, but I never trusted them in the postseason. And as we continue to get closer to that postseason, the Dolphins are going to make it. I still don't know if they win a game in the postseason. I don't know if they win a playoff.
Where they sitting right now? Are they?
They are the 4 seed, so they're that last division winner. So they would play the Browns.
Browns aren't going to end the season on the 5 seed.
The 4 seed.
That's the way.
They're going to stay at the 4 seed because they're going to win that division, and then they're going to get the 5 seed, who I think. Well, let me think about this.
But are they going to be worse than the South winner?
They currently are.
I think so, because I think the Texans win the South with a pretty decent record, to be honest.
Right now, the Jaguars and the Dolphins each have a 7-3 record. Jaguars are the 3 seed. Dolphins are the 4.
That's tough. I feel like they're going to get one of the Jaguars or the Texans in the first round.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I can see that.
I don't know. I still think there's something
if
in
the
my
Steelers end up 10-4 or 10 and
if the Steelers end up 10,
what do you know?
6-4.
Oh, you'd be
6-4,
10-7.
right? I something in my heart tells me the Jaguars and the Steelers are going to get a first round matchup. So plan your seeding accordingly, whatever the other games are. Because who is this feels like a tangent we need to go down because there's not that many games left. What is the AFC field? Who makes it in?
So,
who's the 8, 9, 10 right now? Like who are the teams on the outside?
This is much harder than the NFC side.
Ooh. Okay, so the 8 is the Bills. The 9 is the Colts. I don't really think the Colts. They're a frisky, kind of fun. They're not going to make the playoffs. The 10 is the Broncos. Who are
all those teams are 5-5, right? Including the Bengals at 11.
Bills are 6.
Bills and okay.
Bengals are 11 at 5. the Broncos could sneak in.
Something tells me the Browns don't make it, even though they're 7-3. This win
think
with
they do make
DTR
it.
was against the Steelers. All right, so it don't really mean nothing. I think the Browns fall out because I don't think DTR plays well against competent teams. So I think your AFC South.
They just brought in Joe Flacco.
Okay. I think your AFC South runner-up gets the 5. I think. Oh man, do I want to say the Steelers get the 6 and the
Bills or Broncos?
The Bills or Broncos get the 7? I think that's a good bet for how it falls. That's tough though.
I think the Broncos make it. The way they're playing right now, it's hard for me to envision them not being in the tournament.
Let's see who the Broncos got on the remaining. Because the Colts, I think they're going to get beaten up by the Texans the rest of their year.
Broncos play the Browns this week.
Yeah, they got the Browns, then the Texans, then the Chargers, then the Lions, Patriots, Chargers, Raiders. They probably lose one of those games to the Chargers. Maybe they lose to I don't know though. They're playing so hot right now. They could easily, they could beat the Browns this week, and then that obviously shuffles those two around. The Texans, the AFC is going to beat the crap out of itself in the next month.
And here's the other thing. So I'm looking at the Browns schedule right now. There's going to be some tiebreaker implications here. So if it comes down to Browns-Broncos, they play each other. The Browns then play the Rams. That has nothing. The Browns host the Jaguars. If the Jaguars are not winning their division, that could be a tiebreaker. Then the Browns host the Bears. And then they go to Houston to play the Texans, which, again,
all these teams are playing
tiebreaker.
each other. All these teams are playing each other.
We have some tiebreakers that could be resolved. That Browns-Texans game is Christmas Eve. So between now and Christmas Eve, the Browns play the Broncos, the Jaguars, and the Texans. Those three could all potentially be fighting for a wild card spot, depending on which of, it's going to be a wild card spot or the AFC South crown for the Texans and the Jaguars. So we're going to have a lot of butting heads here, which is how it should be, honestly.
Makes it fun.
Oh, and the Broncos this week. This Broncos game for the Browns could potentially be huge down the road.
Yeah, because
for the Broncos too.
Yeah, I think the Steelers clear their way out of this conversation. I think they can shore up the 6, unless if the offense stinks, they need to be eliminated yesterday, and they don't matter. But if they play like they probably can,
I wish they were eliminated already. But
me too.
Not.
Me too. If they play like they can, their next games are Jake Browning and the Bengals, the Cardinals at home, the Patriots at home, at the Colts, the Bengals at home and Jake Browning again, at the Seahawks, and at Baltimore. Realistically, you should take both of the Bengals games, the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the Colts. They should win 5 more games, and they should lose to the Seahawks and the Ravens. That would put them at 11-6. They're probably making it in at 10-7 based on their division record. So I think the Steelers squeak in and get first rounded by whoever that 3 or 4 seed is.
Jaguars are currently 3.
I'd rather play the Jaguars than the Texans. I don't want to ever see the Texans again.
Would you?
Yeah.
Jags on you.
No, I'd rather play the Jags.
He doesn't want to have to cheer again. CJ Stroud.
Listen,
he wants to cheer for CJ Stroud.
So the Texans team is basically the 49ers coaching tree. I don't want any part of that. I think Jacksonville is fraudulent. Steelers should have won that game. If Minkah Fitzpatrick's on the field, he intercepts fraud boy Trevor Lawrence on that throw instead of Casey flying by ETN, and then ETN just walks into the end zone. Whatever. Again, it's whatever. But gonna be
Dolphins conversation. Funny enough.
Yeah. This all started with the
Yeah.
Dolphins.
Now we're talking Steelers Jags playoffs.
Hey,
Listen,
what? That's
we
party
just
chat.
went. We
Sports.
just went AFC playoffs, man. That's that. That's just where we ended.
That's all
but
AFC.
Did we
It's gonna
even?
be fun.
We didn't even. Yeah, the Bills or the Broncos. The Bills were the other team. Yeah, the Bills should be in this conversation. The Bills fighting for the number 7 is
I think
not
it's-
where we were
I would
at
have thought.
the beginning
I
of the
think
year.
it comes down to the Bills and the Broncos for that 7th spot, and I think it's going to be the Broncos.
I'm gonna fire up that playoff predictor tomorrow. The
Ooh, that's gonna be so
little
fun.
the playoff computer and just see what happens.
That's going to be. All right, let's
Back
get
to the
moving.
Raiders. Back to the Raiders.
Hey,
I
good
think
for
we're
them,
done with
man.
that
Say
game.
something real quick.
Good for
They,
them.
think we're
they're
done
much
with-
better without Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, they
Much
are.
Andrew
better.
O'Connell looks okay.
Is Pierce gonna get that head coaching job next year? Is he just gonna keep it?
Probably not.
I don't know. They might give it to him because I know a lot of people were mad the last time they had the interim. They did pretty good. I forget his name, but they never gave him a real shot. So
was-
they'll at least give Pierce a real shot.
Rich Bisacci?
Yeah, something like that.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That was Gruden's interim, like 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
And a lot of people wanted him to get like a real shot at the job, and they never gave it to him. So.
Well, it's
Same
because
thing happened with the Panthers last year. Steve Wilkes came in interim.
Yeah.
Panthers played really well, and then they just said, "Peace out."
he wasn't given a real shot. No. I think Mark Davis just really wanted Josh McDaniels. That was the thing. Like, he really wanted Gruden, and then he just really wanted McDaniels. Over
Poverty,
So
poverty owner, right there.
What if they just bring back Gruden?
that'd be funny.
Anyways,
That'd be funny. All right. This game, I don't even know what to think of it. Giants, Commanders, Tommy DeVito. He's here for the family.
Tommy DeVito.
DeVito.
They already got
yeah.
Cam sent on TikTok. He probably sent it to
He
you
did.
guys. The
He
Tommy
did.
DeVito with the it was the same Ben DiNucci sound. Yeah. He's taking over.
Ron Rivera going to get fired though, and Eric Bieniemy is going to be that head coach next year. While we're on the topic, because they're terrible.
Or Bill Belichick. That's what everyone's saying.
That's what
He either
everybody's
wants,
saying.
he either wants LA or the Commanders for some reason.
That's weird.
So, while we're on Bill Belichick, my brother brought something up to me. Say the Cowboys have another playoff, like, they just crap the bed in the playoffs again. And they can Mike McCarthy. Does Belichick go to Dallas?
I'd do not good things if that happened.
Not a
My brother
Belichick
mentioned
fan?
that to me
If
the other
McCarthy
day.
is gone, Jerry needs to write the biggest check ever seen to Ben Johnson to be head coach. That's the only way I'm not losing my shit.
Oh,
Sorry, that's completely off topic, but it
that's
felt
the
relevant.
TikTok right there. That's the TikTok right
I
there.
saw it. I've seen that, and I decided to just immediately just eject it from my brain. I don't want that.
You're welcome for inserting it back into the
Thank
brain.
you. I will spend the next few days ejecting it.
Ejecting that in the Nick Sirianni video we saw.
Yes. I actually was calming down, and that re-sparked some anger. That lasted throughout the night. So thank
Okay.
you.
Sam Howell, I don't know what to make of him. And they had a chance to win this game, and then Sam Howell throws a pick six. But he had 3 interceptions in this game.
Gunslinger.
I don't know.
Yeah, and this I talked about it in the parlay video because I took Howell to go over because the Giants have the worst pass defense in the league. We just saw them get carved by the Cowboys for 400. Dak threw for 400. I thought Sam Howell, who was leading the NFL, or at least was, in passing yards, could, take advantage of that. He still had 255, but he didn't look great.
That 2020
and
QB
Tommy
player,
DeVito
20
went crazy.
That 22
DeVito.
QB class is looking sus right now. It's weird.
Tommy DeVito with more multiple touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett.
Stop.
And Kenny Pickett and Zach Wilson.
He's also got more multiple touchdown passes than all of us combined. So,
I would hope so.
Kenny's only got one more than
freaking
us,
hope
bro.
so.
Kenny's only got one more, bro. We're right on his tail. We're gonna tie him up by the end of the year somehow, some way.
When the apocalypse
God.
happens and they're just taking random people to start the NFL again, I'm gonna catch up to them.
Our flag football champs over here. You
True.
and Cam just going to dominate.
Heck yeah.
True.
If
True.
I didn't have
Flag
the trophy,
football-
I took the trophy back to the office, but if I had it, I'd be showing it off.
Do that. What was that?
Leave me alone.
Moving on. The next game.
Leave me alone.
49ers, Buccaneers, 27-14 for the Niners. They're back, I think. I'm trying to keep us together, man. Dillon, get your head back in the game.
Sorry. Only a couple more to go here.
Brock Purdy was perfect. Like, literally, he had a 158.3 passer rating. Love that. The Avengers are back. 49ers
Ask Dillon how he
going
feels
to...
about that.
I don't. Move on. We don't got time for that today. Maybe next week.
Or Baker Mayfield. He just couldn't keep up. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is that the 49ers, when they're healthy, they're still the best team in the league.
They're scary.
Yep, they are.
And that's why I'm rooting for the Lions to keep their pace, because at the current standings, we wouldn't have to play them until the conference championship. So,
Right on.
and just fingers crossed that someone else can be
Fingers
'Cause
crossed the Lions take them off, or
we
the
cannot.
Eagles do.
because we cannot. Well, they would play the who did I say first round? The Seahawks, and then the Lions, and then they would be in the conference championship. So that's the best path for us, because the Niners just are. They're
the
something
Niners.
else, man. They are the Avengers. They're the freaking Avengers. It's insane.
That's
It's
what
insane.
happens when you don't spend any money on a quarterback, i.e. the Chiefs.
Yeah, when he's
Your
making
roster
like
is
$900,000, you can have freaking Nick Bosa and Chase
And
Young
Chase
on the
Young.
same defensive line. Fred
Warner.
Warner,
Tua,
freaking
whatever
Trent
that dude's
Williams.
name is.
Oh, that dude's out
Ayuk
there
and
too.
Kittle,
Oh yeah, he is.
Hargrave.
They got Hargrave on that D line too. Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah,
It's
Team's
unfair.
disgusting. Team is disgusting. Ayuk, Debo.
Christian McCaffrey. I don't know how I let that
Oh,
one slip
yeah.
through.
I
By
just
the
assumed
way-
you said it. I just assumed you said it.
Bro, that's the type of team you build in Madden and you piss everybody else off because you just got all
Yeah,
the
dude.
99. You got all the X
So-
factors, man.
That was Chuck's team from back in the day, dude.
It was. And he would have a quarterback like Brock Purdy for no reason whatsoever.
He would. He'd have. He's got Bryce Young. He'd have whoever randomly came out of MSU that year.
Yeah, Connor Cook or something would be throwing.
Aiden
to
O'Connell.
him. Aiden O'Connell. Oh, gosh.
Oh,
Peyton Thorne.
I think that's all we got on that game. So the next game
Scary.
is Bills Jets, 32-6 for the Bills over the Jets. They fire their offensive coordinator. Offense looks. They take advantage of a broken Jets defense. Like when your offense only scores one touchdown every 40 drives, it's kind of hard for the defense. 40 drives between the Jets' 2 touchdowns.
Oh, my gosh.
And
good.
the only reason they scored on the 41st drive was because they had a fake punt. Like the fake punt led or catapulted the only touchdown drive that the Jets had. At some point, the defense is going to break, and they start like I was seeing instead of playing smart defense, they were playing aggressive defense. Like because the defense realized if they're going to win this game, it was going to be on the defense forcing a turnover, and you're reckless when you play like that. The Jets' offense is worst thing I've probably ever seen. Like Adam Gase's offenses were better. They actually score touchdowns every so often. And it wasn't like Zach Wilson is kind of the fall guy right now, rightfully so. He's been bad. But when you start or play 14 different offensive linemen it is kind of difficult to get something going. You have wide receivers who can't separate and get open. That's a struggle. And then an offensive play caller who should probably get fired as well, but won't because he's Aaron Rodgers' best friend. So the offense is just, it's cool that they made a change to Tim Boyle because for the locker room's sake, they were going to have to. But Zach Wilson isn't, he is part of the problem. He's not the biggest issue, though. And I think that's going to be magnified as we move throughout the season. So it'll be interesting to see if the Jets can actually score touchdowns. This was the first game that Breece Hall scored a touchdown, and they ended up losing. Like, every other time that Breece Hall scores a touchdown, they win. He scored a touchdown, they lost. And he's also responsible. I think Breece Hall has scored our last 3 touchdowns now. No one else scores touchdowns. Our last
It's
4
criminal.
it's very criminal. Our last 4 touchdowns have been by somebody with the last name Paul, 4 or 5 touchdowns. Because Bryce Hall, the corner, picked up a fumble and returned it for a touchdown against Denver. It is what it is. I don't want to spend too much time on the Jets because they're not worth the breath at this point. The Bills are the better team.
Whose fault is it that you
2 minutes,
you
43
did not-
seconds.
That's pretty good, Gill.
That's
Pretty good.
Whose fault's what?
Whose fault is it that you didn't go get a veteran quarterback quicker? And why are they not in trouble?
Why are they not what?
Why are they not in
Fired?
trouble? Why are they not like on the hot seat for that decision? You're wasting a
Because he's a good
top
drafter.
5 defense.
He's not, actually.
Well.
I am not on the Joe Douglas. That's a whole nother topic that I didn't want to get into because that's just a snowball effect. But I think
Post it
Joe
on
Douglas is
YouTube. You'll get
overrated.
1,500 views.
This is true. I think Joe Douglas is overrated. He has one good draft. His free agency decisions have been poor. His drafting overall, like that Zach Wilson class, which I loved at the time, is not good. His draft, like he has 4 good picks, 4 or 5 good picks. Why the Jets just in general don't invest in backup quarterback, like legitimately invest in backup quarterback, mind boggles me because that's something Joe Douglas has just done. He just, the starter goes down. All right, season's over. Like, we're not going to invest in a quality backup quarterback. Zach's rookie season, the backup was Mike White. You're not going to have an actual veteran.
Yeah, don't dog on Mike White like that.
But he was unproven.
Yeah.
Nobody knew about Mike White.
Joe Douglas knew about Mike White.
He did. So
maybe that's Tim Boyle, man. It's last year's script, right?
Hey,
it's Tim Boyle. It's time.
It is.
Saw Tim Boyle has never had a season with more touchdowns than interceptions, going back even to college.
Well, he's about to ask Kenny Pickett in something, so whatever.
His stats are actually kind of wild. Like the fact that, go look at his college stats. Because it's insane that he made it to the NFL with those college stats.
Yeah.
Look at this guy.
Tim Boyle. First of all, I thought Trevor Siemian should have been the guy, but what do I know? The Jet,
what a terrible sentence, dude. I feel so bad for you.
It is what it is.
You
It
thought
is what it
Aaron
is.
Rodgers was going to be the savior.
Don't say it.
And you just said Trevor Siemian is the guy.
Yeah.
Over Tim Boyle.
Yeah. That's where we're at.
How quickly things.
No, I was doing so good. I had my head down for like 10 minutes.
Dude, I know, but I think about it all the time, Gill. At work, I'm like, I literally think about how sad you must be, and I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm
I've
sad
gotten to
for
a point.
you.
I was thinking the other day because there's a lot. So we're getting into. We're getting deeper.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Tim Boyle, this can't be right.
This
can't. No.
I can promise you it's right.
Tim Boyle, this can't be the same dude. Okay, here's Tim Boyle's college career.
Yep.
2013 at UConn. 621 yards, 0 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Sophomore year. And that was with 44 completion percentage. Sophomore year, comes back, starts 9 games, 52% completion percentage, 335 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. 9 games, by the way. 2015, junior year, 5 games, 51% completion percentage.
Did he transfer?
He throws for 281 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, all for UConn. Oh my God!
I think he went to like Eastern or Western Kentucky or something like that. Too.
Yeah, what's the last year? What's senior year?
That's
Finish
it.
it up.
That's it.
That's it. He went to
That's
the league
it.
after that.
That's it, bro. We went to the. Hold on. It can't be right. Eastern
There's no way.
Kentucky. Eastern Kentucky. Hold on. Hold the phone.
Here's what I got. Okay, so you did 13, you did 14, you did 15. In 16, he did not play. 17, he was at Eastern Kentucky. Had 2,134 yards, 11 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. That was his last year. He went undrafted.
Bro. How is he still 29? Bro, that was like a decade ago. He was playing college football at the age of like 17. Anyways.
Yeah.
Wow, that dude is awful. I'm sorry, Gill. I'm sorry you got to go through that.
Is what it is. I've gotten to a point because this was not where I had anticipated going because, again, Jets aren't worth the breath. They're not worth the time. But there's a lot of people starting to question, like, should Robert Saleh get fired? My assumption, first of all, he shouldn't. But if it's the right decision for Robert Saleh to get fired, he's going to stay. If it's the right decision for Robert Saleh to stay, he's going to get fired. I'm Irish, so I should very well know what Murphy's Law is. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, and that's just the definition of the Jets. Whatever the right decision is and make the wrong one. I mean, I could give you like 100 examples of that just in the last.
We won't go through your misery.
I'd
That's
rather
okay.
not.
There's a YouTube video calling your name.
I think that will be after the season. I just need to no, because there's a whole playoff round.
NFL hat ready? Are you wearing it already? Or do you still have the Jets?
He's got the Jack Daniels hat on, man. He passed that.
You got the Jack Daniels hat, but you need the what's his freaking name? The
Roblo.
You know what I'm talking about?
Roblo.
Roblo NFL hat.
Probably at some point. It is like the amount of times. This is the last thing I'm going to say. The amount of times like Dillon has said like your season was over after the 4th play. The reason I hate that is because that's exactly what the Jets said by not investing in like the quote unquote benefit to an injury happening that early is that you still have time in the season to plan. You could have went after a Josh Dobbs at the trade deadline. There's backup quarterbacks all across the league who are playing well. Tommy DeVito just put up 3 touchdowns. Josh Dobbs has been playing well. Gardner Minshew's come in and played. Like, the Jets don't take backup quarterback seriously. And it blows my mind that they said, you know what, the season's over. We had so much hype going into the season, but it's over. Like, whatever. Good for the Bills. They deserve to win that game, and they did.
Stop it. Stop it. Move on. Seattle. You lost.
They did lose. Geno Smith got injured.
I had to look at that again. Wow.
Rams won 17-16. Geno got hurt, which paved the way for the Rams to come back and win this game. It was low scoring, very defensive. And
it's a Seahawks record.
6, I think is what I just saw. I think they have 6 wins. 6-4. They play the 49ers Thanksgiving.
Okay, good. So they'll still have a winning record when we get to play them. So
break the curse.
We can at least Can at least get one out of the way before they have a losing record.
Also, the Rams continuing to win, which is good for me. Have we looked at these standings yet?
No.
Our second team standings?
I should currently be in the lead, but not by much.
Browns 7-3. That would give Drew the lead. I think Rams 4-6. Saints 5-5. So it's Drew, Dillon, myself, and then Cam because he took the Patriots.
It's criminal that the Browns were allowed to be picked, but that's besides the point. It's just unfortunate. Me and Gill got stuck with the NFC, man. They're trash. But it's fine.
Hey, you could have picked the Texans. The Texans were available technically.
I could not pick the Texans, actually.
You and Cam could have.
Cam could have picked the Texans.
Nah, he picked
Cam
the
tried to come back and
Patriots.
saying.
If whoever's listening to this, do not let him fool you into thinking he picked the Texans.
Nope.
He picked the
not.
Patriots.
He did not.
He took the Patriots. DTR playing, and the Browns probably going to lose some games. Could be beneficial for us, Dylan. So we're still in this race.
Listen, man, the Saints are cheeks, bro. That's all I know. They shouldn't have been. Anyways,
but I think there's really not much else to say on that game. Cooper Kupp getting hurt sucks, but paved the way.
They said he'll be back, right? I think they said he'll be back.
Hopefully.
I think they said it was minor. I think they said it was minor, but.
All right, been trying to get Cam. Haven't heard from him, so I guess we're going to have to talk about the game.
I'm going to guess he's not coming.
I haven't heard from him, so I'm just going to assume that until we get told otherwise. But Broncos, we talked about them being hot right now. 21-20 win Sunday Night Football against the Vikings, and it started off with Josh Dobbs continuing his, quote unquote legacy, I guess, as kind of that Fitzmagic era is what it seems like, where he's just coming in, dominating the first couple games. He had a couple good drives early, and then it cooled off there in the second half. And then my big thing with the Broncos, before I open it up to you guys, is throughout this entire game, they just couldn't score. They couldn't get in the end zone. They get in scoring territory, and then it was just field goals. That's what it seemed like it was going to cost them. Like, had they been able to convert more of those field goals into touchdowns, game might not have been as close. So probably got to give credit to the Vikings defense for holding them to those field goals until the end. Cortland Sutton just balled out there in that final drive, including that touchdown grab from Russell Wilson. Russ seems to be cooking again. He seems more confident. He's not quite Seattle Russ. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. But we're getting definitely a better version of Russ compared to what we had last year. It's looking good, keeping the Broncos alive. And they finally were able. The difference was them being able to score a touchdown there at the end. They couldn't do it the entire game. They finally did it, getting that win Sunday night.
Yeah, they had like 4 or 5 straight field goals. I was like, it's not going to get it done. You gotta punch one of these in. And Vikings were doing some questionable stuff. One of the biggest question marks was having Dobbs at like running back and running a pitch to him. I think they were trying to convert on 3rd or 4th down or something, and that did not work. He got leveled, fumbled the ball. Yeah, he's playing good, but he's not Superman. Like let's take it easy, Kevin O'Connell. Like take it back a notch. Cortland Sutton lately has been playing phenomenal. I was going to say kind of secretly, I think a lot of his heroic catches have been getting some attention, so maybe not so secretly, but still not getting quite the reputation I think he's earning himself this year. And I think that obviously is helping Russ, having a receiver he can trust. Unfortunately, Judy hasn't turned into that player that we thought he would be. I couldn't even tell you another one of their weapons that I would want on my team other than Sutton. Sutton has been playing phenomenal this year. Definitely a big contributor to their success.
Yeah, I wish Dobbs never left the Steel City, and that's about the only thing I gotta say about this game.
There's a lot of teams I wish he never left, specifically the Browns, who had him on the roster
Yeah,
and let him go because of a DTR preseason
preseason game.
performance.
Yeah.
What
Dobbs-
did we learn this year, Party Chat crew? What did we learn this year about
Preseason
preseason?
doesn't mean anything.
That was Anyways, Dobbs made
Dude,
his
you even had me
living.
buying Kenny Pickett stock.
Bro, I was drinking the Kool-Aid, unfortunately.
Yep.
Dobbs
Any
made
Pickett
a
stock was like Enron. You're
Anyway.
in trouble, dude.
Anyway,
Matt Canada's going to prison.
ran a Ponzi scheme, man. It was bad. No, that's it. That's it. Denver. We talked about the AFC playoff race a lot already. So
I think
They're in
one
it.
more thing with the Broncos. What's interesting about them is before the trade deadline, they were supposed to be sellers. And then they get the win against the Chiefs. And I think I even said, like, that win gave them, or was going to, it was a reason why they didn't sell. Because it's like, they were confident because, oh, we beat the Chiefs. We don't need to sell off. We can still stay in this thing. And I was criticizing that. If I did, actually, I think I said that on here. If I did, I apologize because clearly I was wrong. If I didn't say it on here, I definitely felt that way. Because it seemed like at the time they should still sell. Like, even though they beat the Chiefs, they should still be selling off like guys like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, Patrick Surtain. Now, I'm an idiot for saying or even thinking those things. Broncos,
We'll see.
that Chiefs win really catapulted them into where they're at.
they still got a long ways to go. They still
They
got
do.
a long ways to go.
But it's hard to win, especially stringing wins together. Like having multiple wins in a row, it's difficult to do in the NFL. Winning one game is difficult. Winning more than one in a row,
4 in a row.
something like that.
It
Hats
is.
off to
They
them.
were one.
We
They
do
were
have an
1 and 5.
impressive,
Another 5 and 5.
few wins here over the Bills, the Chiefs. We'll throw the Vikings in there for fun. Whoever else they played before that to build the streak. So an impressive few wins. I think we went over the schedule, right?
Yeah, we
When we were
did.
talking about
We
the
already
playoffs.
did. Yeah, we did.
So, if I remember correctly, not
Difficult.
extremely difficult.
No.
They have a few difficult, but nothing. It's doable for them to still make the playoffs.
But they're speaking of the playoffs, their AFC West counterpart last night pivot us
Chiefs,
a little bit. Yeah.
21-17 win for the Eagles over the Chiefs, getting their revenge from the Super Bowl. And I think my biggest takeaway from this was it was more, again, it was like the Steelers lost and the Browns win. It was more the Chiefs losing than the Eagles winning. Because Drew was mentioning like refs in our chat and how they were helping, which to me, whatever. It was in Arrowhead. It's the Chiefs. It's the NFL's golden boy. I digress on the ref talk. The refs aren't the reason. Actually, no, I'm going to continue with the ref talk because the refs aren't the reason that Patrick Mahomes threw an interception in the red zone. The refs aren't the reason that Travis Kelce fumbled the ball in the red zone. And the refs aren't the reason MVS dropped the go-ahead touchdown. The Chiefs had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to get ahead of the Eagles, stay ahead of the Eagles, or pull away at different points throughout the game, and they just couldn't. They beat themselves, and the Eagles took advantage. And the Chiefs, they have a lot of question marks offensively. Defensively, this might be the best, one of the best defenses in the league. And some of the Jalen Hurts struggles, I think, was because of that. Like, they were constantly blitzing. They were getting in his face. He couldn't see. He couldn't go through his reads in time. The interception that was in A.J. Brown's direction that Hurts threw. Listening to Aikman talk about it and then seeing it, you could tell, like, the Chiefs' defense, the blitz got there. He couldn't He was just anticipating, because in the NFL you kind of want to anticipate where receivers are going to be. That is better than
Not Kenny
actually
Pickett. Sorry.
no. He anticipated A.J. Brown being in spot. A.J. Brown he beat his guy off the line. And that's kind of why Hurts threw the interception. Not a great pass, but the Chiefs' defense was giving him fits the entire night. They're giving almost everybody fits. It's weird that we're talking about the Chiefs, or at least I'm talking about the Chiefs. And thinking it's their defense that's going to get them to where they want to go when Patrick Mahomes is on the offensive side of the ball. The offense needs to figure it out if this team is going to make it back to the Super Bowl. The defense is fine. The defense is good. Offense needs to figure it out. And then Eagles, they just continue to win, which, again, difficult to do. See what happens the rest of the year.
It's criminal what the Chiefs have done to Patrick Mahomes. Your most of the targets, I think, went to Justin Watson, who just I don't know what he was doing. That last play on 4th and 25, the ball comes and just goes right between his hands. Like, you're an NFL receiver.
It's
You
like
don't want to
watching
catch
me
that.
try catching a pass while we were in high school, man.
Yeah, like it's him, Sky Moore, terrible. Rasheed Rice looks promising, but they don't use him enough. Kelsey obviously was a huge drop, a huge fumble throughout the game. Just wasn't himself. We don't have to talk about anything that happened. It's bad. It's bad. Pacheco, I love him. I love him. I love how he runs.
I love seeing
was
the
doing
memes.
good.
I love seeing the memes.
The memes are hilarious, and
saw
they're true,
one-
dude.
I saw one where it's just
Who
like
runs harder, Pacheco or Jalen Warren?
Pacheco.
Pacheco.
All right.
Until proven otherwise.
Jalen Warren
I
We've
saw
runs
seen more
one
farther.
where it's just like a door frame that was all messed up and like caved in. It's like
What happened here?
Pacheco ran through here. That was Pacheco.
Pacheco had a 5-yard run. That's what it was.
Yeah. It's so funny. But yeah, the Chiefs defense was really good. And the Eagles offensive line is always, considered one of the best offensive lines, if not the best offensive line. And I think they still are for the run game for sure. But in the passing game, the Chiefs were giving them fits. I mean, Chris Jones was getting in there pretty easily. You touched on it earlier, but the blitz, they had a lot of like corner blitzes that were getting in pretty easily. So the Chiefs defense looked
McDuffie
very good.
was constantly in.
Yeah. And that was impressive to see for the Chiefs for the reason I just said. Like, one, who expected the Chiefs defense to be like the best part of the team, and two, who expected it to be that dominant against an Eagles offensive line who's touted as one of the best offensive lines in the league. Freaking Eagles, man.
That running back.
Luckiest team. Technically not the luckiest team based on that graph I sent to you guys earlier. I would describe it if I could do it justice. I don't think it would be something I could describe. Maybe we'll retweet it on the Party Chat Sports X account. So go look for that. The Eagles, man. Jalen Hurts strip sack. Ball falls right to him for about the millionth time this year. Can't write it any better. Script is perfect. I just want to. I won't get in too much about the Eagles as much as I would love to, but there's two things. One is on that interception. I don't remember who was it. Doesn't really matter, but who made the interception? What's his name? I think it starts with an S, maybe, or
Anyways.
Snead.
Darius Snead.
Yeah, Snead gets the interception. It ended up being that their shins touched. He was down, whatever. But like that, another kind of question is: at what point are we just like letting refs guess when the play should be blown dead, or is there like an actual like, hey, they're standing here for 5 seconds, the play's probably over, or like Because if he wasn't touched down, I'm not convinced they wouldn't have given the Eagles the ball back. Because they didn't blow the whistle until after the fumble was caused. But the fumble occurred after like 2 to 3 seconds at least of Snead just standing there. A.J. Brown also just standing there, no movement, just A.J. Brown ripping at the ball for 3 seconds or so. It's like, it's strange. It's strange, man. Just another part of the NFL. It's like we're just out here winging it. We're just out here making stuff up as we go. So that was interesting. And then the false start on the Chiefs. I don't know if you guys remember. Do you remember what I was talking about?
At
The
what point in the game?
Eagles, it was in the fourth quarter. The Chiefs had the ball. I think not their last drive, but the drive before.
Okay.
I think. Eagles jump off sides. Chiefs react. Refs start talking about it. I thought they were going to get the right tackle because the Eagles jump off sides and then try to come back. And as they're coming back, the Chiefs like start pointing at them. And I thought they were going to be like, "Oh, he didn't. He got back on sides."
I remember this.
Before the Chiefs moved. But they didn't even call it on the tackle. They called it on Creed Humphrey, who did not move. I mean, he moved as a center would move. Like they're allowed to look up. Centers literally make like calls on the defense. That's their job. They're pointing stuff out. They're allowed to lean back, point, yada yada yada, whatever. That's what he was doing. Dude, it makes me so furious to watch that video. He jumps off sides, and everyone on the Chiefs is freaking statues, man. And they have the audacity to come out and call false start on the Chiefs. Sirianni's going, oh man, what are you talking about, dude? What are you talking about? Ridiculous. I hate that fraud. He's so fraudulent. He's such a bum, dude. He's the worst person in the league. I hate him. What are you talking about? False start, bro. What are you looking at? What are you looking at? What were the refs looking at?
You got the call right. Hey, anyways,
Put them headphones back on.
I was making sure like it wasn't so loud that I was trying to see how loud it was.
Talking about this bum right now. You need to listen.
I can
Listen
barely
up.
hear you. I can hear you. You are hurt.
That made me so mad. So it's just it's the little things like that, man. They add up, and that's how you get to 9-1 when you're the freaking Eagles.
Fly, Eagles fly.
anyways,
You don't need big things to go your way, but little things here and there, they keep adding up, and that's why you keep getting away with these close games.
What is the Eagles schedule? Because it's supposed to. Oh yeah, the Bills, 49ers, Cowboys, Seahawks, Giants, Cardinals, Giants. We're gonna find.
Sometimes I wish I didn't care this much about football.
not the life for us,
Yeah.
buddy. We signed up for this, so
Yep.
Sometimes I wish I could be a casual and just not care, or just
yeah, just have other hobbies.
spew trash out of my mouth all the time.
I wish.
I might still do that anyways, but
You got anything to
there's
say on this
definitely
game,
time.
Gill?
Not much more than I already said. I think, again, this was more the Chiefs beating themselves. The Chiefs lost this game more than the Eagles won this game. The Eagles,
one more thing.
go for it. Floor is yours.
Jalen Hurts, 150 yards, 1 interception. MVP odds go up.
1 fumble, right? 2 fumbles.
1 fumble that he recovered magically bounces back to him like every other fumble he's had, just about.
But he's got all them fumble recoveries. He's like one of the best defensive players in the league.
He's the greatest fumble recovery we've ever seen. He just
Drew,
magnetized.
where are we at time-wise?
We
Hour
are
and
too far.
Hour and 53 minutes.
Too long.
Wrap it up.
but
Wrap it up. Wrap it up. It's been,
why I
it's
wanna
been a
make
good
sure
one.
What were you getting
All
at?
I want to see where we were at because I can't see.
Oh, yeah.
154.
Yeah,
Because
we're a
once you-
long ways away.
Once you get out, once you get booted out, you can only see how long you've been in. So, That's a wrap here for week 12 of the NFL season. Hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Eat lots of great food. 3 games on Thanksgiving, a Black Friday game, and then your Sunday slate of games for week 12. Should be delicious, should be fun. Hope you